Tim.
Hey, brother.
Hello, my friend.
How you
Good
doing?
to see you. I'm doing great.
Great to see you.
Thank you for being on this little YouTube interview show called The Pastors Left the Building.
Thank you for the invite. Of all the people that you could have on your show, I don't know, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Already. Yep. It should be fun.
Push button start, all kinds of cool stuff.
Gadgets and gizmos to play. You want to warm yourself up there? You just click that.
The seat vibrator. Oh my God.
It will massage you, whatever you want. We need full comfort for our talent here. And that's what you call it. You call it the talent when you're on camera.
All right. I'm going to use that in a sermon.
Okay. Jeff said I'm talented. No, I didn't say that. I said you're the talent.
The talent, yeah.
Well, my friend, we are pulling out of the parking lot of where?
Falmouth Baptist Church, my ministry home for 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. What are your main responsibilities there?
I am the youth and associate pastor, which, as you could guess, deals with youth and associate stuff.
What's that look like?
Yeah, I like to tell people that I manage or supervise or whatnot ministries from our nursery to our college and career group, and I serve on men's ministry and our missions board, and so I have a number of duties that are not youth related. Mm-hmm. I'm on our board of trustees. I'm on our board of deacons.
Wow. Can I go this way or should I?
Yes, you can go that way.
Let's just do this.
Yeah. They let trucks come down here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I have always when I'm chatting with you, you're like, oh, I got this meeting. You seem to have your hands in a lot of different things at your church, even though you're the associate or the youth pastor and all that stuff. But I've always heard you talking about all those things that you do, and it seems like more than your regular youth pastor. I wasn't even a full pastor; I was a youth guy, but that's all I did. You seem to do far more than that.
Right. Well, we can head right back up this way.
Okay.
Our, I've shared with you before, but many people don't know that our senior pastor was involved in an accident a couple of years ago, and suffered severe concussion, had trauma, a number of broken ribs, and some other issues along the way. And so the last few years really have been a lot of fill in and such, wearing more than 2 or 3 hats at one time. So it has been a lot busier the last couple of years, but great church, great leadership team, phenomenal people that I work with. I love this church. I've never been a part of churches that have struggles and conflict or whatnot. Never been a part of that, but I've seen it. Mm-hmm. Some dear friends of mine ministering here on Cape Cod, some have been, pushed out of ministry opportunities because of different leadership issues and whatnot. Not because of any moral failure or anything along those lines, but just church conflict that happens. Stuff.
Yeah. And
I'm thankful that our church. That's not to say we've not had ups and downs and struggles or whatnot, but nothing along those lines.
Yeah. To be there for 20 years, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, it's not just me though. The pastor, my senior pastor, has been serving here since January of '96.
Wow. I love hearing the pastors has just been staying for a long time.
And he replaced the guy who served for 40 years.
Wow.
So you're talking somebody just over 25 years, and he's not slowing down, right?
Yeah.
And it is there's a history there of long ministry legacies.
And that's John Ely.
John Ely, yeah. He's a hero of mine, actually.
Love it. Well, we hope to interview him someday as well.
Yeah.
Do you have any other jobs that you do?
I do. Ministry often what it is sometimes doesn't, cover all the expenses. I have a decent sized family.
Yes, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
And so, there are needs and whatnot. And so I do a couple of days a week. I'll do some painting jobs. I work with a Christian man, another hero of mine. As a matter of fact, if there's not many other painters that would ask me if I would work for them or with them, that I'd say yes. I mean, and I've been working with this same painter for, I don't know, 15 years maybe. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how about any other careers before ministry, before the painting?
Yeah. Well, before ministry, I was in the Air Force for almost 15 years, 14 years and change. It's little churches. We were stationed in Arkansas for a while at this really little church, but a powerful church. And probably for the first time since I was a teenager, really felt close to the Lord and walking with the Lord and a part of the church family and whatnot. We had 2 little kids at the time, Dana and Marissa. And when Uncle Sam sent us from Arkansas to Japan, that little church, encouraged us and blessed us, and they just, they encouraged us to, if we couldn't find a home Bible study and all the things that we had come to know and love in that church, then to start one. And so we did find great churches while we were over there, but we also started home Bible studies while we were there, and we're a part of things. I was a part of a men's ministry over there that was powerful. You're talking a military base with tens of thousands of people assigned there, and we had a number of men attending our men's ministry group, and we do mission trips together and service projects together and whatnot, and obviously study the scriptures together. And so that little church way back in the 90s really started us on a path of preparing for ministry. And so that's kind of how we landed where we are today. You go through the stop sign and make a right.
Okay. I've never been to Starbucks. We'll try that. Well, I've been in a building, not this drive-through. I don't understand the lingo, so you'll have to help me. Mm-hmm. All right. So your family.
Yeah.
You alluded to a large family.
Yeah, it's not super large, but it's bigger than your average. So I have my wife and I have 6 kids. But most of them aren't kids anymore.
Hi,
Oh, good.
Okay, 7:38. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so our oldest is, she's turning, she'll be turning 32, and our youngest just turned 13.
Yes. So 6, and so they're obviously different. Obviously, different ranges. How about marriage, kids, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So my 2 older.
1262.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. My 2 older kids are married, and the 2 of them both have 2 kids. Both have a boy and a girl. So I got 4 grandkids.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
How long you been a grandfather?
Fletcher's 5, so he was our first. He's a riot. Every one of them a blessing from God.
Fun, and you like the experience? Well, you're still in the parenting and
that's right.
grandparenting.
That's right.
So.
But yes, I like both of those experiences. They're both amazing. I absolutely love spending time with my kids. Right, so I don't have stressful relationships. I love spending time with my kids. Yeah.
We both do. That's true. I like spending time with your kids. They're good kids.
And I like spending time with you.
That's right, and you do with Sam and Bella and the youth group. You knew Zach and Joe. We'll just say that's how we got connected, because I was running a youth group, and you were a very social connecting type of guy. Like, hey, let's do stuff together. I'm like, I don't know. And you're like, no, we're doing stuff together. Okay, I guess we'll do stuff together. And it was great. We did the Chris Allen conferences together and brought our kids together.
I love those.
Trinity worship nights and different things that they hosted. So that
different retreats together.
And then once we closed up shop on my youth group, I said, my kids are going there because that's how much we respect and love you. So, so did you already say how long you've been living on Cape Cod?
Well, we moved here. Uncle Sam moved us here in November of '98. So we've.
There's one Americano with black. The other one is
Thank you.
Okay, and that's for you.
Oh, thank you.
So you're welcome.
So we arrived on the Cape November of '98. Began, the term church shopping.
Okay.
Looking around and trying to find where we really felt our next church home was going to be. As we were very analytical about this, right? So the whole process, we were rating certain things. We were looking for.
Thanks for your help.
Thanks.
You too.
Yeah. We were looking for. Obviously the message was important to us. Spending time in the scriptures, but beyond that, we were also looking for what the worship experience was and what they had to offer for our children, and just the overall friendliness, the joyfulness of the church. And we would rate all of these things. Honestly, I have to tell you, Falmouth Baptist wasn't the number one for myself or my wife.
That's inside baseball information right
there. That's right. We were living out at Otis at the time, but I was serving in the Air Force, so I was out at Pave Paws, a radar site in Sagamore. And as we would rate these different churches, one of the considerations was we're not just a Sunday church family. And so to actually be a part of that church on a few times a week, that was a consideration. So I'll go ahead and share with you. My number one pick was Osterville.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We'll have to have Rob.
Osterville. Well, Rob, come on, Rob was still in high school.
Well, I understand.
Back then it was Mike Rowe.
Yes.
Mike Rowe was the pastor. I loved Mike. And there's been a number of pastors that we've known and loved since then. Some we partnered with and different ministries. We almost planted a church together with them and with Forestdale at one point in time. And things, interrupted that, whatever life, But anyways, and my wife's first pick was not Falmouth Baptist either.
Okay.
But Falmouth was in the top three, and probably maybe the second choice for both of us. And I admit that we didn't give some churches a fair shot. Right? We were, if you're visiting during Christmas, you really don't know what's the worship flavor of that church or whatnot, and the messages are Christmas messages and whatnot. And so, hey, I'm sorry, Forestdale Baptist Church, but
man,
I think we visited twice during Christmas, and it was Christmas both times, and so we really didn't get to understand that church very well. But we grew to love that church, and partner with it. I can't tell you how many times I've taken my students with Forestdale to Mexico and other mission trips and whatnot, Belize together, and they're just a great church. But anyways, we ended up at Falmouth, and we're not sure why.
Okay.
Right. So my wife's grandmother was passing away after a long struggle with cancer, and a long struggle. We were overseas. We came back a couple of times thinking, well, this was going to be it. But so she was passing away, and so my wife was in New York, and when she came back, I was on the Falmouth Baptist softball team. And so that was so I guess that's our church.
Softball ministry.
That's right. Softball pulled me in.
Wow.
I don't know.
So so churches out there, you don't have to be friendly. Just have a softball team. You don't have to
Well,
preach
the other churches had softball teams too. I don't know.
okay.
They were maybe the first one to ask me. I don't know.
Oh, they actually asked. I thought you were just signed up. Here's your shirt.
Well, I played softball for the base team and for the church team both.
Okay.
Way back when.
That is funny.
Yeah. But Falmouth was way up there,
Yeah.
and really, there's a number of. We love the worship, we love the fellowship and the people and whatnot. But John Ely, his preaching was phenomenal, and so that was like really what kept bringing us back. There was so much great about the church, but the preaching kept bringing us back.
Nice.
And so I don't know. That's how we landed there 20
what is
years
that,
ago.
23, 20, well, 98, right? Is that 24
Yeah,
years ago?
yeah. It was a number of years ago. So 98. Well, we didn't actually officially land there until early 99. Maybe around February, we kind of figured out, that was where we were going to be.
And you've been there for a long time.
Yeah,
That's great.
So John Ely used to be the youth guy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then Pastor Bob Hansen retired after 40 years, and John had been voted in there as the senior pastor, and they didn't have a youth guy. They were looking. As a matter of fact, I was part of the team that was looking, and I voted on a couple of guys. Like, yeah, I think he's great. You should have
Don't vote for me. Go for this guy.
I think he's great. You should hire that guy.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. So we were not serving all that time in youth ministry. Well, we were shortly in '99. We began to meet with youth at the church, and very informal. We'd be meeting like after church for games and activities or whatnot, and that turned into a weekly activity time and a Bible study time. Originally, I remember the worship team would be practicing, and at the end of their practice they would do a Bible study together, and so while they practiced we would do our youth activities and then we'd do the Bible study together. That's
how the youth ministry started?
That's how it restarted after Pastor John moved up and they were looking for someone. It was just really informal and just kind of natural. Love doing that. Yeah.
Youth ministry can go a lot of different ways. It can be rah-rah, big events, try to pull people in. It could just be we're just here to love each other and do some studies. I mean, what's your philosophy for youth ministry?
My overall philosophy is for sure relational. I think that youth ministers are not. Some of them are gifted and able to do this, but not necessarily called to be, counselors or whatnot. They have Christian counselors for that, and I do offer biblical counseling for my students. But I think youth ministry is relational. It's someone who loves Jesus, helping loving on young people and helping them grow to love Jesus. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's that. Fun things are fun and great, and they can be a draw to bring people in, but that can't be the reason your students continually return to your youth ministry because of the games, right? You've missed the mark there. That's just my humble opinion.
I humbly agree. Okay, do you ever have occasion to connect with other pastors on Cape Cod?
I do. Sadly, COVID-19 the last couple of years has been rough. But for a number of years, I believe it might have, in my early years of ministry here, Pete Axelson was the youth pastor at Christ Chapel. And he would have a network of youth ministers that would meet out there probably once a month. When Pete passed the torch, eventually I picked up that torch and I've been the network director for the Cape here for a number of years. There was a couple of years that I was getting really busy and handed it off to Napoleon over at what's now Cape Faith, at the time Faith Baptist, And then Napoleon moved on to I think Connecticut, and so that came back to me.
Came back to
So yeah, and so
Just like
I
ministry
absolutely,
does?
yeah, I love getting together with other churches and planning how we can just do so much more together than we can apart.
Yeah.
There are churches that have bigger campuses and can fit larger groups of people. There are churches that have more resources. There are churches that just have more availability to minister than other churches because they're just busier, and a lot of youth ministers, a lot of even pastors on the Cape are bivocational, and so you have a lot of that going on. So I love getting together with other churches and partnering in different things, whatever we can do together.
And that's how we got connected. Because
Yes.
you loved it so much. You said, we're doing it. Okay. Sounds good.
And I loved having you come and share the teaching this last winter retreat out at Camp of the Woods. That was phenomenal. That's something that I don't think I've ever done. I don't think I've ever, split a teaching down the middle and said, let's tag team this.
That was a really
great.
fun retreat for us. My wife got to go too. Mm-hmm. My son and daughter are in the youth group, and Sam was leading the worship. And so it's a special thing for me to connect with you guys too. So how about your church? This one I know you've got a lot of answers to. Your church connecting and reaching into the community. Mm-hmm. They do that a lot. You guys do a lot of different things. Why don't you list a couple of those things for us?
Some of it is just by the nature of where God has positioned us. Our community, Falmouth, has Falmouth Road Race. It's rather well known around here. Tens of thousands of runners running that road race every year, and there's prizes and whatnot. Well, our church campus is one side of the church campus is part of the race. And then the other side of the church campus is where all of the runners and the family members walk back up after the race to get to their vehicles and to the buses. And so we have tens of thousands of people passing either side of our campus on Falmouth Road Race Day. And so we have opportunities. We do our worship outside. We do our message outside. We're an official water stop for the runners. Hot dogs and the whole 9 yards out there.
Wow.
We have.
So is this all free for anyone?
Oh yeah, it's free. We do water, lemonade, iced tea, all that out there for free. And of course, we'll while we're doing that, we'll share, balloons and stuff for the kids, and we hand out tracts and information about the church as well, inviting them, if they don't have a home church to consider visiting us and whatnot. So that's one thing, and that's just really by nature of where God has placed us. Probably our favorite thing to do is, we have a couple of favorites, but our favorite thing to do as a church is probably Vacation Bible School. We work really hard at making VBS come alive to kids, and our heart's desire is to, with the Word of God, plant, a memory of something that happened today. So in those Bible stories, if there's fire, we try to use fire. If whatever it is, if there's water in the story, we're bringing water into the Bible lesson, right? If there's bodies of water, we're bringing bodies of water. So we do whatever we can to kind of make those memories come alive for the kids and just fill their hearts with joy that we point them to Jesus. And the other thing we love to do is missions. Our church is very missions minded. And I think you can see that in a number of ways. One would be participation in mission trips, whether it's adult or youth. And another way is just when follow the money. Right? More, a significant portion of the giving and such at our church goes right to missions.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so if you were to find yourself, and I don't know that this has happened since I've known you, if you were to find yourself with a completely day off free and you needed a day to relax, what would you go do?
All right, so just to clarify, is this a day where I have to catch up on all my honeydew things at home? Because I've got a lot of that going on. If I had a day
Honey's
off,
on her own trip or
I'd be
something.
playing catch up.
Yeah.
Let's see. If I had a day off and some friends, there's so much that I would love to do. I'm a hunt, fish, kind of guy. So I'd love to go fishing. Haven't done that in forever and a day. I enjoy, visiting the range and sending some rounds down range.
To be clear, we're talking about the gun range.
Yeah, firearms.
At the Cape Gun Works? Do you go there?
Yeah, I do go to Cape Gun Works. I'm a member down there, and love visiting the range there. And I love shooting my bow. I probably like shooting my bow more than I like shooting my guns.
Now that's the recurve stuff. I'm not the recurve, the compound.
Compound bow. Yes. Compound bows are so far advanced from what they once were. The sights that they have on and the adjustments that they can make. Make you very accurate with your bows. Right.
Yeah, they're pretty powerful.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
All right.
So, having said that, I did go hunting one day this year. Yep. Went in New York. I did not even see a deer.
Okay.
Not one.
No. You were in nature.
That's right. I spent about 6 or 7 hours in a tree enjoying the scenery.
Do you? Now, that's my question. Do you enjoy just being there in the peace? And,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's a lot to that hunting thing, but I would enjoy the peace part. And then if you actually happen to get a deer, there's a lot of work involved with that.
There is. There's somewhat less work if you get your deer out of state. Only because they won't let you bring a deer home in the back of your truck.
Oh.
So you have to, send it to be processed.
Okay.
And then you can bring the meat back. But you can't just, field strip your deer and throw it in the back of the truck and bring it home. Deer carry different diseases and they just don't want to share from state to state those diseases and whatnot.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
All right, so you mentioned your growing up years. I think you said Florida and upstate New York.
Upstate New York, yeah.
Why don't you tell us the family origin, any moments that stick out in your mind of your childhood?
Some of the coolest things. So these are also regrets that my kids don't have. So growing up in upstate New York, that is where both of my sets of grandparents lived. And nearly every weekend, on Saturdays, we would visit my mom's family. And on Sundays, we would visit my dad's family after church. And so my kids growing up in military families and then being out here, so this is the closest we've been to New York since I left and went into the military. But they've never had the experience of being able to see their grandparents on a weekly basis or close to it. And so that's something that I love about growing up. I was very close to my grandparents, but also very close to my cousins because they all did the same thing.
Oh, okay. That's fun.
And it's not, our life has not been at all similar to that.
Yeah.
But those are things that, you wish that you could have that for your
childhood
kids.
Was filled with that. Was that overall a good experience as your childhood? You did hunting and fishing. That's where you learned it in upstate New York. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sounds a little Andy Griffith. like?
Very Andy Griffith-like, yes. My parents, they parented differently than I do. My parents had kind of a hands-off experience, when outside is where where boys should be.
Yeah.
And so we were outside a lot,
Okay.
and we would, walk miles away and drop a line into a creek or into a pond or something, we did a lot of that.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's time for the very pastory question.
Ooh.
What is your favorite, most concise way to explain the gospel to somebody?
Okay. I love the clarity and the brevity of 1 Corinthians 15, where Paul says, here's the gospel that I gave to you, that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures, that he was buried, that he rose on the third day according to the scriptures, and that he appeared to many. Right? You probably can't get a more concise gospel presentation than Paul's presentation of what the gospel is. So that's probably one of my favorites. But if I have a little bit more time to share with somebody, you can't beat the Romans Road. Right? Romans Road is phenomenal. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Right? The wages of sin is death. But the free gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus. Go to Romans 5:8. God demonstrated his love for us in this, that he sent Christ. And then the summary statement of it all, Romans 9:10. If you believe, confess with your mouth, Jesus is Lord, and you'll be saved. Right? And so I love the Romans Road. If I have some more time to share with somebody with that. So those are my go-tos, right?
Awesome. When did you get introduced to Jesus Christ?
Oh, wow. I think that I was born into a Christian home and was probably in church the week after I was born. Now, when I was 13, we just happened to be in what is referred to as a non-denominational church, which really there's no such thing, because when you look at different, you look at a church's statement of faith and you figure out where they land, and that's a denomination.
Tim Hawkins, the Christian Communion, says you say non-denomination, you're a Baptist church with a cool website. That's what he said.
Right. So we were at this non-denominational church in upstate New York. I'm 13 years old, and maybe 15 years old. And the pastor shares the gospel during a regular Sunday morning church service. Nothing special about it. And that day, he had probably done the same thing every week of my entire life, right? Every Sunday that I was there. But that day, for whatever reason, God had my attention. And I began to ask myself if I had ever actually made Jesus Lord of my life, or if I was just part of a Christian family. If I had myself actually invited Jesus to be Lord of my life. And so that day, I actually did ask Christ into my heart and acknowledge that I hadn't done that before. And within a couple of years, I was baptized by immersion. As a child, I was sprinkled, But
Okay.
that particular church, baptism by immersion. My church today, baptism by immersion. New Testament, baptism by immersion.
Okay, we get the doctrinal point you're making.
Right.
We got it. Go ahead. You got dunked.
Yeah. So that's how I became a Christian. It was just grew up in that. My family actually had Bible studies in our home, and I had to be there, right? Yeah. Family studies, not like we brought the church in,
okay.
but family devotional times, Bible studies in our home, and I was still unsaved. didn't know it, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's the, sometimes people need to be saved from Sunday school. We think they're saved, but they really need to have a heart transformation. That's what it seems like happened to you. Did you say at 15? Was that what?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. And slow growth since then, or did you have any other pinnacle moments that you remember kind of really kicking it in gear?
Probably walking pretty close with the Lord until, the usual, like, young adult kind of going out on your own or whatnot. But actually, I probably walked pretty close with the Lord until maybe 17 or so. So for a couple of years, really enjoying church and enjoying our youth programs and whatnot. And then a lot of wandering. God blessed me with, at the time, a girlfriend who was a strong believer and had strong convictions and was just the most lovely person ever. And then he allowed me to marry that same person. So that's
I'm glad
awesome.
That's how the story ended, because I'm like, where are we going here, Tim?
Yeah. No, Donna really taught me how to love. I told you my parents were kind of hands off in certain things, and so, I mean, geez, married to Donna, even in the first year or two of our marriage, I'm just in awe of this person, because I didn't know life could be that way. Yeah. That's pretty amazing. But in all those years of wandering, my wife didn't wander. She was close to the Lord all that time, and so, God used her powerfully in my life.
Do you have any books, movie series, sports? What's your fun things to listen to, watch, do, that sort of thing?
Well, I love listening to Christian music. Absolutely love it. Listen to Christian music as often as possible. It keeps my head and my heart in a right place, because I can easily wander. You spend too much time with talk radio or news, and you just want to throw yourself off a bridge. Yeah. So Christian music keeps my head close to the Lord, and keeps me thankful for all the things that God's done for me. It reminds me to be thankful for all those things. Movies, I mean, it's well known, I think well established, that the best movies out there, well, there are the Star Trek people, and I have to give you, or Star Wars rather, sorry. Yeah. I have to give you that Star Wars is phenomenal as well, but clearly the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogies are way up there. Okay. Yeah.
In the movies or the books or everything?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. All right. Yeah. Let's see. And what was the book? So the other one. Oh, dude. Just about anything written by Max Lucado. Max Lucado is probably my favorite author. He's such an easy, down to earth read. And so if you look at my library at home, which I try to stop buying books, I try to get everything digital, but I can't. But if you look at my library at home, I mean, Max Lucado is for sure, he's like taking up a whole shelf.
He's like the Message Bible. He
very
smooths
easy,
it out, easy to
very
listen,
easy.
Listen to or read.
Yeah, but deep. He and Tim Keller are some of the men that bless me the most, because they are so down to earth and they are so easy to understand and easy to read. Love those guys, but they're both like deeply rooted in their theology, and they're not wishy-washy in their Christianity. And I just love those guys. Yeah.
Can you think of anything to tell me that most people don't know about you, or something when they find out about you they're kind of surprised? Is there anything like that we haven't talked about?
I don't know. I usually surprise people like every day because they didn't know that I was that pig-headed. But
Well,
no, I mean, I am who I am. There's not really much of a surprise. I don't know when the last time I took somebody for, like, made them, go, oh, really?
Well, the fact that you're a youth pastor and you're a grandfather, that got me surprised when I'm like, wow, you've got grandkids already? And you're running around doing all this stuff, and you're up doing all-nighters. Like, I didn't do all-nighters. I did one in 6 years of youth ministry. I did one. You do them all the time.
This is true. It's true. We do, well, yeah. Try not to do them all the time, but we ended up doing more than I would like. But yeah,
I'll tell another one
God
on you.
made
The
me
fact that you sleep like 3 hours a night. I mean, how do you deal with that?
Well, 3 hours is a bad night, right? So I prefer, somewhere between 4 and 5, right? But yeah, I don't know how I do it.
I'm just getting warmed up around 4 or 5.
Right? It's just what happens.
That surprises me.
Yeah, I could go lay down and stare at the ceiling for 3 hours,
It might have something to do with what you said the other night. You said you take equal parts coffee and equal in air, right?
Coffee and air.
That could be.
Yeah.
Could be it. All right. I think maybe the last question here. Do you have any God stories in your life, in the ministry, anything like that, where God showed up miraculously and you just want to tell everybody?
Just my testimony and how I got here. In graduating high school, everybody has to ask that question, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And then what do I study to make that happen? Mm-hmm. And really at the time, if you had asked me at that time of my life, what was I going to do with the rest of my life, I really would have thought, I'm going into some type of computer stuff. As a matter of fact, my first year at college, I was studying computers. And way back then, we literally had a room full of huge computers with the magnetic tapes that spun around and whatnot. And that was then. And if you'd have asked me back then if I would have thought I would end up in the ministry, I'd be absolutely not. I mean, why? No. And so, how we get here, God uses this tiny little church working out of a storefront in Arkansas, and then after leaving there, them encouraging us to pursue ministry and growing in our time, serving with missionaries overseas in Japan and beginning to prepare for ministry. As a matter of fact, when we came to the Cape, we really thought that God had called us specifically to be missionaries to the Philippines, and that was our plan coming to Cape Cod, was that we would finish out our military service, retire after 20 years, and take that pension and go serve somewhere around the world. And we fell in love with Filipino people on different bases that we were at. So that was a culture that was attractive to us, and they loved us, we loved them, and we just thought that, hey, God made this match in heaven for us. And so when we did make it back here to the Cape, we began to serve in our church and serve with youth and Sunday school and missions and all the things that God has put on our hearts over the years. And our pastor asked us to candidate for that youth position, the youth pastor position at our church, and we said no. I mean, God's already calling us, and we're preparing for this, and so a year or so goes by, and pastor asked us again. Now we're gonna retire from the military and be missionaries in the Philippines. And then we got orders to go from Cape Cod out to Space Command headquarters in Colorado Springs. And the pastor asked us a third time. And it really, I don't know why, but it dawned on us this time that we had never prayed about that, being asked by our pastor to candidate for that. And so we decided that, rather than just say, no, we're headed to retire and we're going to find ourselves out in the Philippines somewhere for the rest of our lives, we began to pray about it. And it was really, really surprising how God gave us just this desire and this heart for this church and serving here and now, and not putting them off another 5 or 7 years until we retired and all that. But to begin our service right here, right now, with this church and with these kids, and we loved the teens at that time. And maybe that's what God needed to do. He needed time to warm my heart up to these kids, these very kids that I'm ministering to now. And so, yeah, if you'd asked me in high school, would I go in the military or ministry? No way. And if you'd asked me when we got to the Cape if I was going to be a youth pastor, no way, right? But here we are, right?
Yeah.
Here we are. And some of my right hand, men and women in youth ministry at my church, I watched them come into church as an infant, Denzel Lumba, Denzel was 2 when we got here,
Wow.
It was just amazing. Luke Ely was, he was maybe 1 when we got here, it's just pretty amazing to watch these people grow up. I've never had that in my whole life.
So in retrospect, looking back, you've been here for 20 years, and God had a better plan, and so He's changed your mind.
In my heart. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we love it when God shows up and does awesome things. And He always
Absolutely.
does. Sometimes we don't see it right away. We got to kind of look backwards and see it.
Yeah. That 20/20 vision in back is sometimes amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Well, my friend, we are at the end of our drive.
All right.
Thank you for doing this interview with me. It's been fun. And I guess we'll just pull in here and have some fun.
Sure. So the stats on these things now, they're so adjustable. The same bow, you can adjust it so that it pulls back, a 13-pound draw to 13, 15 pounds. So, any little kid, But then they could be adjusted up to 70, 75 pounds.
Whoa, from 13 to 75.
Yeah, so it's the idea is, you got a bow for life. There you have it. Here's your tensioner, so you can crank it up or let it down. I have mine set at 65 pounds. You set your different pins. You can see how they light up on it for you. You set your different pins, so the highest pin is 20 yards, and this is really about 30. So I'm gonna shoot off my top pin and just aim a little high today, rather than readjust it and all that.
And hope for the middle. Okay. Oh, yeah, in the woods. How about smack dab in the center? Dead center. Come on, Tim!
I don't want to leave. I've got too much ministry to do.
Come on, you can do it.
I've got too much.